Hello, sweet souls. It's DTO in the flow, and welcome to the 5Q interview podcast, where I connect with visionary leaders, artists, and souls on a roll. And before I introduce my guest, I do want to presence where I am in the world. I am underground here, underneath this beautiful yogashala at Embody, Costa Rica, in my professional recording studio. And in 2020, Hemale and I came and explored the Central Valley of Central America in the center of this town called Atenas. And it's said to have the best climate of the world. We built this gorgeous 2,000 square foot yogashala. It's all for transformation. It's a hub for community globally to come and connect with community. And this whole journey started between Himalaya and me because we were on tour and we traveled, played at different festivals. And guess what? After traveling so much, we're like, hey, it's your turn, come to us. And so after multiple albums that I've launched, this is my debut album, Nameless Energy, then my sophomore album, 7 Songs for 7 Chakras. You can see all the global singers. And then my third album is Radiant Energy, which follows the 5 koshas. And today's guest is also in our global yoga world. Alisa Ruby is a singer, songwriter, psychologist, Kundalini yoga teacher, and sound healer. She grew up in a family of multiple generations of musicians and physicians. The fusion of healing and music reverberates through her DNA. With a lifelong passion for creative expression, spiritual growth, indigenous wisdom, reggae music, tropical vibes, and Kundalini yoga, I present to you Alisa Ruby. How are you?
Hi, DTO. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really great. So happy to be here today.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for all of these beautiful projects musically and, musicians and physicians. I love how that rhymes. And it's definitely a complementary skill of like knowing the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't know who I am. I'm DTO, Dave the organism, right? The body of who we are, and then that consciousness and that the sparkly galactic way that we get to expand our mind and our souls. So I love that there's this fusion in your life. And today we're doing our 5Q interview, and we're going to jump right in. All right. So every superhero has an origin story. So once upon a time, you were a little girl riding a horse.
Yes, I was.
So lovely. So how did it all start for you with listening to music and absorbing the energy of this art form and falling in love with music?
Yes. Well, thank you for, first introducing the little bit from my bio. So basically, I do come from many, many generations of singers and musicians, as well as physicians. And as far back as we know, I mean, for hundreds of years in different parts of Eastern Europe, on my dad's side, everybody was always involved with music. And so in my family, as soon as you were 2 or 3 years old, you were just thrown in front of a piano, any musical instrument, around the house that they could find, and just really encouraged to always sing and to be around music. And so on my dad's side, both of my grandparents, they actually met because of music. And they hosted different TV shows and radio shows, interviewing musicians all over the world. So it was just something literally from birth. I was just kind of thrown into that world. And my grandfather at the time, that's my grandmother, she was a pretty well-known opera singer at the time. And just her brother, won a Grammy. So just a very musical family. So at the time, this was back in the day when people had many albums and everything. And my grandfather had just like collected so many albums that people had given to him. And I remember being so little and just kind of exploring them and looking at the pictures and being so fascinated. And one of the ones that I really fell in love with, I was like 6 or 7, was Peter Tosh. And so I actually asked if I could have it, and I brought it home, and I would like listen to reggae from like really, really early on. And I also remember being, like maybe 3 years old, and just knowing, having this like, light bulb moment that I still can remember so much, of being with my grandparents and just saying like, I want to be a singer when I grow up. That's what I want to do, and I'm going to do a performance for you. And just, it was just like that joy, that natural joy, that I think as life goes on, sometimes we can lose touch with that, but that's just really our true essence. That feeling that you have when you're like 3 years old, what it is that you actually love. So it's just part of my entire life. And then, I started doing professional singing lessons when I was like about 12, and getting really, really into that, and musicals, and just like that whole theater world. And that's just all I wanted to do. That's all I could remember ever wanting to do with that, my whole childhood.
Yes, I love how musical your family. Like
Yeah.
I like to frame it where we chose our parents,
Mm-hmm.
and then we come into these bodies and we get to have this incredible experience of being supported in the ways that we're supported. And that's a incredible story and also the Peter Tosh, with a reggae influence. Oh, so fun.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so let's jump into question 2, which gets into your original creation. So, once upon a time, this is you. Love these photos. Throwback.
Yeah. Throwback Friday.
So, what was it that actually allowed for you to then get inspired? Was it a series of events? Was there one aha moment where you're like, wow, I can actually create music, and I could sing, and I can perform, and I can take this inspiration and share it with others? So what unfolded there?
So, yeah, I mean, I definitely remember even as a child, around that time, starting to write things, and always writing poetry, especially. Even again from early childhood, I was really into writing poetry, and just would kind of just tap into God consciousness, even though I didn't probably understand that's what it was, and just kind of download different lyrics and things that I just had that soul that could feel emotions really intensely and deeply. Maybe past life, or who knows what it is. But so it's hard to really put it into words how it started. It just was there. It was just who I was. I always loved writing, um, and then as time went by, in my 20s, in my early 20s, and like college, I started really getting into trying to learn to play the guitar, and actually like writing songs, and tried to really get it off the ground and start bands. Um, and then I ended up working for a record label. It was actually a yoga record label, in my early 20s. And so that actually really helped me get exposed to like the actual record business industry at the time, which in some ways it was really helpful. It was really positive because it was more of like a yoga spiritual label. But also, I definitely saw like a lot of the underground business side of it all, and lots of, I don't know, information. I went to many, many, many festivals and many live music shows, and just tried to soak it all in as much as I could and get inspired.
Yes, that's very similar to my path of just having that inspiration around me, and then feeling supported. It sounds like that's obviously day one of how your journey's been, and to create. And when I have some photos here of your journey with Kundalini, and that this incredible, powerful community that has inspired you. So I'd love for you to presence
Mm.
beautiful soul that's no longer with us, and how her life impacted you.
So, yes, I was very fortunate to discover the Kundalini yoga path early on in my journey. I was in college, my sophomore year of college, and just from the first minute that I went to my first Kundalini class, I knew that this was something really important for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I had such a huge, I want to say Kundalini awakening, right away that year. And just my life transformed so much, so rapidly. Kind of going from the 90s grunge era, like just kind of a little darker path to like really, really tapping into so much beautiful, bright light. And I just got hooked and, just always did it. And I was so grateful that at the time, even in my, I wouldn't say like 20, 21 issues that I had been dealing with like anxiety and just different things, I just saw it transform before my eyes so quickly. And thank God I've had Kundalini really through every stage of life. And I've been through a lot. So I just couldn't be more grateful to always have um, that grounding energy. And also, yes, that also ties in a lot with how I create songs and just everything. I think half of what I have manifested or created in my life has been inspired by visions and my inner voice that comes through in meditation and in Kundalini yoga class. You put up the beautiful picture of Guru Jagat. It's so sad that we did lose her, such a beautiful soul that touched so many people. And I was very, very obviously devastated at that time. And also so grateful to have had, the community that she helped to foster and just still continuing with so many beautiful teachers and souls in this world.
Yeah, feeling that
Mm.
the teachings of her presence here in these communities. And I remember when she passed, it just reverberated through so many of our circles of, yeah, and there's this life death
Mm.
dance that we're all doing as human beings.
Mm.
And it's
Yeah.
it's this interesting part of having that fuel us up to like
Mm.
write music, to continue forward, to pause, and grief is flowing into us at times. And yeah, and as we know, every moment there's death around us. Like I live in the jungles of Costa Rica and I see death all the time.
Yeah.
And in nature, and there's even a
Mm-hmm.
gecko or an iguana, or it's like this reminder. And obviously when there's human souls that we've already connected with that has this legacy of teachings, they
Mm-hmm.
can really reverberate within us. So yeah, honoring that
Yeah.
connection that you have.
And I honestly just got chills when you were talking, just like feeling that really, really resonate through my soul. Just this powerful time. Today is actually even a very powerful day. It's a Virgo new moon and lots of energy of new beginnings. And it just kind of shines a light on these different chapters in our lives and how we do, like you said, because there's always that dance between death and life and all these different initiations that come our way. It's just such a reminder to really fully embody each moment and bring our gifts forward and create and not wait, not out of fear or whatever blocks we put up, but just to keep pushing ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
So let's dive into the third question, which is to share about your creative process. And the premise of this question is, we're a part of creation,
Mhm.
and we are creators, and creativity is our birthright.
Mhm.
And each of us have our own ways of tapping into that creativity. I'm going to share a beautiful photo of you with crystal bowls, Because at one point, at least when you and I were growing up, we didn't know much about crystal bowls. And now all of a sudden, the crystal bowls are in so many of our communities.
Uh-huh.
And it's this frequency that gets us to tone and tune in to
Mm-hmm.
these sound vibrations that allow us to activate parts of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And, I love the quote of, music is the silence between the notes, right? So, especially people that have experienced music, when you're in silence or nature, then all of a sudden some sounds come in, like a crystal bowl or a beautiful voice. Then it's like, oh, where did that come from? So people that aren't actively creating art,
Mm-hmm.
there's this question. And then for you and I as musicians, producers, songwriters, there's this flow state that we get to. So how do you achieve this flow state, and what are your ways of like rituals or prepping in order to perform?
Such a great question. Yeah. Well, I think for the first part of your question, what do I do to get into that creative process and into that flow? So I would say there's times when it's intentional and there's times when it just naturally happens. I love those moments when you just receive that like light bulb aha moment out of nowhere. Oftentimes, like I mentioned earlier, it's happened to me in yoga, deep in meditation, in something like a sound bath, where you just really tap into these beautiful visions that want to come forth from your soul. And I think that there's also the daily practice as artists that we need to do, which is carve out that time to allow those visions and those feelings and that beautiful music to come through. So I think, for me, a lot of times, when I do have extra time, I will intentionally go on like a long nature hike, um, you know, tap in with like medicine, with whatever, just with my soul, with walking, with connecting to the birds and the flowers and the plants, the different seasons, and just feel whatever speaks to me and just try to be silent and see what words come through, see what feelings, what emotions. And if sometimes, often it'll be a lyric or even poetry or just sounds or, melodies. A lot of times melodies just come to me even in my sleep as well. And I always just try to capture it because they come and go and you can just so easily lose it. So you wanna grab onto it and take advantage. So I'll, if I wake up and I hear a melody in my dream or something, I'll sing it on my phone and record it. And believe me, I would have forgotten it if I hadn't done that. Or just, write down the lyric. And I have on my phone just like a million random words and lyrics and things. And there's times, you're like, okay, what do I want to do next? And so I'll go back and see what else wants to come forth from those seeds that have already been given. So it's a process, and it's infinite because there's so much, beauty out there that wants to be channeled, and it's just allowing for it, really.
Yeah, I heard this analogy recently around, and we don't use this technology as much, but back in the day, if you wanted to tune into a radio frequency, you had to actually physically move the dial.
Yeah.
Remember that? You'd like tune
Mhm.
in physically. So when you wanted to find that creative flow,
Mhm.
it's almost as there's a methodology that each of us have
Mhm.
that gives us that gift of a creative process. And would you agree with this, that sometimes what you did once doesn't always work twice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, there's also another side now that I'm thinking about it. So there's the lyric and melody and kind of like, connecting with the ethers, like you're talking about. And then there's also the technical side, which is kind of pushing myself to sit down and open up the Ableton and find sounds and just start seeing what wants to come through on that end. And then, I've had a couple experiences where I might have had one idea, but it completely transforms into something totally different. And that is also so beautiful. So, yeah,
Yeah.
many different ways.
I always like to say, you can't tame the dragon, you got to ride it.
Yes.
Ride those waves. Let's ride the dragon because this creativity in this song, this soul, this is a mother, right? Like this soul that comes in, like you might have these ideas and your great great grandparents had certain child rearing techniques and this way in society and everything shifts, but it's like how this song baby comes to life, like Simba. It's like, oh, here's the song. There's these twists and turns. And to me, I feel one of the deepest spiritual journeys is to create art
Mm-hmm.
because you're confronted with this question. Okay, am I going to force it? Am I going to tame the dragon or am I going to ride the dragon? So
Mm-hmm.
it's such a
Yeah.
beautiful way of, and I love what you said too, which is so true. If you would not had recorded or written
Mm.
down that idea or opened up Ableton, which for those people who don't know, it's a digital audio workstation, how people record music. It's like a fancy garage band. And essentially then you're like, whoa, I captured that. And so many musicians I know have done that before. Going back to the old days of like tuning into the radio, I remember when there was physical answering machines. Like you'd have little tapes on answering machines. I
Mm-hmm.
had a guitarist friend that told me he would get an idea and he'd be like on the road playing, and he
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a way to record it. It was way before. This was back in like the late 80s, early 90s. So
Mm-hmm.
he would call his house, and if someone picked up, his wife or children, be like, hey, don't pick up this time. Just let it go to the answer machine. I got this lick. And he would just play this riff, and then
Uh,
he'd come home, listen to it, replicate it, and be like, so grateful it was
mhm.
documented.
That's
So,
amazing. I love that. Wow, I haven't heard
yeah,
that. That's really awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
and I actually don't think I've shared that with many people. So, I mean, it makes sense that other people are going to do that same thing because we so quickly forget. And I don't know if this ever happens to you, but I just so often I'll wake up, a couple times and in the night for like a second and like, wait, what was I thinking about? Or a dream, or it could be a cool thing. You really want to capture it, but
Mhm.
especially when it's music.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, it's a sacred, divine experience that can happen because you have our angels and allies and the muses and these signals and messages. And as you were sharing, like this is a crunchy, chaotic time to be alive in the world, and art is such a gorgeous, delicious and nutritious moment to be like, whoa, there's some like order in the world and there's some process and there's some flow state to it. And as your projects, your recent album,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everything is healing. So there's
Yeah.
this art, right? You see the flow of the ocean, you see the gorgeous, light that comes in, and you like looking to the beyond, right? So there's art, right? And that moment, how many times could you capture that moment? Like what did it take? The right?
Mm,
The photographer to be there, you were there, beautifully dressed. Um, so there's this synergy and there's these moments that you gotta, as they say, carpe diem, seize the day, like go for it, create the art out there. That's my advice for so many people. And look at this gorgeous. It's
thank you.
Heather Christie. Big shout out to Heather Christie, NTO,
Uh,
Soul
that was
Family.
the Tantric hardcover album cover.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I have definitely been through, as you're mentioning, just some big transformations this year. Living in Los Angeles, and I'm sure most people know about the fires that we experienced, and having
Yeah.
lost my home and my city and
Mm,
everything that had been familiar. So getting that album out there was so important to me because I had almost been finished right before the fire happened. And so it was just like such a, just like a win, a victory for me to be able to finish it and get it out. Yeah.
mhm,
So, but yeah, again, it's just like we're living in crazy times and we just have to tap in with the beauty that wants to come through us that we showed up here for. We all showed
mhm,
up here with a purpose. And when we allow ourselves to just live that soul's purpose, no matter what, there's nothing that's more fulfilling or meaningful.
mhm. Yes, yes. And so let's jump into what's meaningful.
Mhm.
So, how does the local and global community respond to your music? Do you have any stories to share? And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have been really really touched with the response I've received, especially in the Kundalini community, with just different sisters and people I know who have just really, shared how much it meant to them. And it's been a process for me, to also like open my heart and to be able to like receive that response and feel like, I don't know, feel like okay with it, feel like I deserve it. And that's part of what I'm working on as well. Just being that channel of giving and receiving, and knowing, this isn't about me. It's not about my ego. It's about my soul showing up to share healing energy, and knowing that people do actually receive it and feel so much from it is just the most heartwarming experience. So yes, I've had, many different people and teachers and people I really respect ask me to put more out there and tell me how much fun they've had, whether it's dancing or in a class or whatever. It just feels so good to know that it is being received well.
Absolutely. And I want to share another photo, visual storytelling. So when you're sharing these experiences, so for the people out there that may not have sound healing in their communities and their towns, or maybe they've never had crystal bowls, or maybe they just haven't had their experience of having a community like Kundalini.
Mm-hmm.
For you, with the response from the community piece, what does that do for you as an artist? Because I always share there's 4 stages of communication, and communication, not only verbal, just energetic communication. Even a head nod is communication, right?
Yeah.
So there's the sender, right? There's you, the artist,
Uh,
Alisa. Then there's the message, which is the music, the singing. Then there's the receiver, right? The community, the audience.
yeah.
So the question really is based on the 4th step, which is so vital to our existence, I feel, which is feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And, at our retreat center, we have curriculum. We always tell people feedback is gold.
Mm-hmm.
And even raw feedback that, when you're working with fellow artists, we just mentioned NTO, Heather Christie, and colleagues in our world. It's so great when we can have a collective, collaborative energy in our community where, the old, and you said you used to work in industries where it's very competitive and cutthroat and dog eat dog. And so
Mm-hmm.
how does that enrich you, when you get to be in that space of hearing feedback that really lifts you up?
Wow. It's just so beautiful. I am so grateful. I feel like we're living in this time where so many of us are in this whole brand new world that's just being created. And there is this like level of sisterhood and brotherhood and community and support. And like you said, I don't feel that competition. I think so many of us, especially as women, grow up with, the sister wound and feeling like we have to compete with each other. And I'm just seeing that completely transform. I've been so grateful with Heather Christie, who, runs communities for women, where I think she really does help people to get that early on. And I do see that just reverberating around everywhere of this new earth, new community, new music industry that is happening right now before our eyes. And it's much more about support, lifting each other up, positive feedback, knowing there's room for everybody, that everybody's unique sound is needed and wanted right now more than ever.
Here's a big shout out to one of our soul sisters,
Yes.
Ashira.
Uh-huh. So
Yeah.
grateful for her.
Yeah. Collaborations, performing live, and yeah, just being in a space with others that I like to call it cosmic mathematics,
Mhm.
which is, here's the equation: 1 + 1 equals infinity, because there's so many possibilities. And this, we talked about Ableton. When you're producing music, not only do you have your organic voice and other instruments that people can play, But then you bring in the electronic sounds, then you bring in like the reggae inspiration, then you bring in, the opera styles that you could add to it. So when you're fitting all these ingredients into one blender, it's like this incredible outcome. And as
Yeah.
you said, everyone has their unique zones of genius. And
Hmm.
you and I collectively know so many musicians that are amazing playing like flute instruments, or they're phenomenal on guitars, or they're any drum or djembe. And then,
Hmm.
of course, people in the inspiration of Mother India, like myself, who can play the harmonium or play the tabla. And
Hmm.
so we just start to synergize all these sounds. And that's what I really love about all the projects that you and I have created together, is that the response has just been so lovely, because you bring what you bring, I get to bring what I bring. And then it's like 1 + 1 = boom. So let's
Yeah.
take a quick moment and have everyone listen to one of our creations here. Here we go.
Yes.
Vibing. Amazing. Yeah, there's so much to be grateful for. As you know, I'm going to be on tour, and just all the ecstatic dance communities, the yoga communities. I even just recently got hired for a Pilates community event. I just got hired for one of those silent discos at Sunset in Florida
Nice.
experiences with the sounds off headphones, which we just got today, by the way, at Embody Costa Rica. We're
Nice.
just are about to unbox that. So yeah, just bringing these unique experiences with community is so powerful. Oh, and
Mhm.
we have someone live, Chris. She's a super fan of my music. She put so exciting,
Aw,
wonderful. Thanks for watching us live here.
so sweet.
Yeah, one of Chris's dreams is to come down to Costa Rica. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, Beautiful. Well, let's jump into our final piece, which is, do you have any closing words, any advice for people listening? Do you have any upcoming launches? Of course, you and I have one that we're
Oh,
going to talk about.
yes.
Feel free to share.
Yeah, well, I was gonna mention this new track that we are just finishing up as of today, um, called Har Hare Hari. And it is, I don't know if you want me to share about it, if you wanted to share about it, or if you wanted to get into that yet.
Yeah,
But
feel free. Let's talk about it. Like,
okay,
what's the inspiration of the song? And then let's talk about the sound design that's been, you know, created
sure.
in the studio.
So I'm really, really excited about this track. The mantra itself, is one of several prosperity mantras in Sanskrit or Gurmukhi from Kundalini Yoga. And this one as well is a prosperity track. And it's also about creativity and ecstasy and bringing our visions and our manifestations to life. And so I had done the track originally, and we, have our reimagined version, which is absolutely amazing for dancing and really, really will definitely get you moving. And so grateful that you were able to find that amazing sarod player who just takes it to a whole other level. It really touches my heart hearing his beautiful contribution to this track.
Global
Sorry.
community
Uh-huh.
is finding players and musicians. I would say that's one of the benefits right now, because there's all these conversations of technology and AI and screen time. There's just something powerful about us being able to reach out to a sarod player in India and say,
Mhm.
"Hey, how about performing on this project?" and just having their magic unfold. It's mind-boggling, because the first song ever in the Western world was Norwegian Wood by the Beatles. That was their album when they went to India and they learned how to play the sitar. They brought all these like psychedelic sounds into their, you know, sound design and their catalog of music. But
Mhm.
nowadays, because all of my in-laws are from India, right?
Mhm.
And I've been in this beautiful family that I can reach out to my uncles and aunties and cousins, and my father-in-law plays the tabla, and so I have
Mm-hmm.
this incredible network. It's like, oh, I'm feeling this instrument. Here's this instrument that gets to like come into our world, and these are highly, highly talented musicians. And this is the blend that I love about your music, Alisa. Is yes, we both collectively love electronic music because it can really bring these extra activations of the chakras, and you feel like, ooh, the root chakras, because you got the kick drum and you got the lower bass end. But then
Mm-hmm.
having all these other instruments a part of this project that we're working on just adds this ancient wisdom for modern day insanity. That's what I like to say.
Absolutely. That is such a beautiful way to put it. Wow, I love that, and it's so accurate. Yes, 100%.
Mhm.
I personally, even when I was a child, I just, back in the day when we did have the radio, I would tune into the Indian classical music station and I've just resonated with that my whole life. And Ali Akbar Khan, and just, even
Mhm.
in my early 20s, like obsessed with that. It just really touches my soul. So thank you so much for those connections that you brought into this track.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really, really feel it in my heart, and I hope other people will too.
Absolutely. Yeah, so stay tuned everyone for the new song coming out. And in the meantime, as I just shared earlier, we do have a catalog of music that we've collectively done together. And as you mentioned, you have this whole beautiful album, Everything is Healing, that people can find on all the platforms worldwide, whatever your favorite one is. There's so many that you can listen on. And truly what I love is people can go to your website and they can stream your music and they can learn more about you and they can contact you. And yeah, so for 2025, here we are in August at the moment. And yeah, just keeping the momentum, keeping the flow state flowing. And what I really have reflected on with your journey is this is like destiny for you. Like since you were a little girl, you've got to have this inspiration, and you got to, besides
Happy there, but that's probably because I needed to sing.
once upon a time, here we go, a little visual storytelling. There we
Yeah.
go. And then here we are, just bringing the magic to the world and passing it on to your family and just keeping the flow flowing. I feel like that's what's beautiful about art.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. And then
my
just,
pleasure.
sorry, you did ask for any closing advice or anything. And
Absolutely.
I wanted to just share that, I'm also a therapist, a psychotherapist, and I've worked with so many people in college over the years in different stages. And everybody's like, I don't know what to do. I want to do this, but I want to do this. My, words of wisdom that I'd want to share is there is time for everything. You never have to just pick one thing. Our souls are constantly, constantly ever unfolding. And everything that we experience in life just adds more layers to what it is that we're able to contribute to the world. So don't ever tell yourself it's too late. It's never too late. Just do it. It's always the right time.
Yes. And reminding all of us that the breath, the presence, having community that's supportive, this is a way to design your life where you get to have inspiration that lifts you up and commitment. And so creativity has been so lovely to be shared with you. It's such a, what did we say? We have 5 songs. I think it'll be our 5th collaboration coming up.
I'll have to count, but something like
Yeah, we
that.
definitely have a lot. We're on, definitely riding the beautiful wave of, especially as I shared, I'm going to be on tour and to play our music out there and watch people respond to it, and just fills my heart, warms it so much. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on our 5Q interview.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you for having me. It's such a gift. It's such an honor. And thank you for everything that we have done together. We're going to keep it flowing. So thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to honor you for all the shifts and the challenges and your perseverance to really keep moving forward and rising up. And I definitely followed your story of when you lost your home, and I know massive community came together, and all the
Yeah.
prayers, all the support, all the love. So yeah, just, you're
Thank
not
you so
alone.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much for that. Yeah.
you're welcome. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Again, you can follow Alisa at her website right here above. If you have not followed and seen who I am, just check me out, DTO Music. And at any time, just find us on all the platforms. Stay tuned to the music that we're creating out there. And I appreciate all of you. All right. Wishing you a beautiful day. Ciao.
Happy Moon. Thank you.